Welcome, fellow operators, to my Luna Mastering Guide. My name is Vantage. I'm a Luna main. I have over 1,000 hours on the operator. I play other operators, but mainly Luna. Early on into playing Delta Force, Luna clicked very, very early for me. And the main reason why is because she has a lot of skill expressions, meaning you can see somebody play Luna and you automatically know who it is. You don't even need to be watching their stream or watching their channel. You automatically know who it is just off of how they use the abilities in the operator. In this guide, I'm going to go ahead and give you some small tips, but also some bigger ones to mastering her, especially faster. Just kind of bridge that gap on getting from point A to point B. I'm going to go ahead and go over the abilities first, just to get a baseline on understanding her abilities, and then we'll go ahead and go through the abilities and how to utilize them correctly. If you'll ever want to come by the live stream, I stream nearly every single day. Go ahead and hop in and chat. I'd love to see you there, but without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the Luna Guide. Alright, looking at the abilities. I'm gonna describe these abilities from the I guess quote unquote worst abilities to the best abilities. I don't think Luna has really any bad abilities at all. But I guess the worst one, if you had to say a worst one, would be the Voltero. I think the Voltero is the only A tier ability that Luna has. All the other ones are S tier. That's why she's the only operator in the game besides Toxic, who's S tier. Her Volteros, you need to use them in very specific ways. Specifically in close range and medium range. Between her arrow and her nades, you have to use them very specifically between those two distances. It's very important trying to understand and master Luna that you know how to utilize the util at those distances. Speaking of the grenades, grenade on Luna is extremely strong. It's got a 5-second cook time. Grenades in Delta Force, similar to Shepard nades, deal double damage. So if you're in proximity to a grenade and it's going to deal 50 damage to your health, it's also going to deal 50 damage to the armor too. That's why a lot of times you'll get cracked, or you'll crack somebody's armor. You'll see the armor crack emblem on your screen when you throw a nade or when you get hit by a nade. So grenades in this game, especially on Shepard and Luna, are extremely strong. That's why they're rated S tier. I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback on this, but I think the second to best util that Luna has is her detection arrow. I know a lot of people might put this at number 1 because it's really no one to play against, but in my opinion, having 1,000 hours on Luna easily, it's the second best. It's really broken, it's really OP, but it's second best compared to her passive. A couple things to note about her detection arrow is A, you need to get it high in the sky because the radius in which it scans people increases the higher it is. Eventually it'll hit a cap, but you know. They only go 200 meters on a scan. So the scan itself only goes 200 meters. You can launch it way in the air, and you'll actually see the arrow keep going. That's why sometimes when you see a Luna like throw a scan at you, you'll see the dart like fly right over you. But they just shot it from too far of a distance, and they can't scan. It only scans to 200 meters. I've never been able to get a direct numerical value on this, but when you get the wall hacks on her arrow, which you can see right here when you scan, you get like the red outline on a player. I think it's up till either 100 meters or 150 meters. Because when you scan someone from a really long distance away, like really close to 200 meters, you won't get these little wall hacks on your screen. You're going to have to look at the map, which is a very important thing with Luna. If you think that you're going to be scanning someone from a far distance, you need to be looking at your map when you do it. If your other allies that you have with you aren't, which it's fine, but at least as the Luna main, it is your job to look at the map, and then you can ping on the map where you're hitting people in your scans. At the very end of the scan, and this is very specific, it's at the end of the scan where the arrow is, it's going to drop a secondary scan, which is for movement. That's why I see a lot of people, they'll lay down, try to avoid the arrow, and they think that that secondary scan is going to get them. There's a way that you should be bypassing this. I think for the most part, you shouldn't be trying to utilize the movement. Only indoors, that's really, really important, but in open areas, that is completely redundant. It doesn't matter. getting the scan off is more important than getting the secondary scan off, by far. Another thing that a lot of people don't play or know, specifically Luna players, is that when you throw out your scan, there's going to be an audio cue that Luna says. So, for example, you go ahead and get ready, you throw your arrow out, and Luna says, find them. And then your arrow will go over an area, and then she says, found them. If she says a secondary audible cue after her original one, when it's scanning, that means that it is operators. So you might throw a scan and you might see 6, 7 little dots on the map. Those are all AI if you do not hear that secondary cue. And this is guaranteed every single time, 100 out of 100 times. It's an easy way to know that it's operators. Now, you can technically vaguely see a difference in the highlights, whether it's AI or whether it's players. It's very faint. The game doesn't do a really good job of portraying that, which I kind of understand and I kind of don't. I wish there was a way in the settings that you could actually change the colors, but I think that would be even more broken than what the ability already is. But for the most part, understand that whenever she says that secondary audible cue, it's players. Something that a lot of people don't know, because I get people ask me all the time, was that players? Was that players? And then I have to explain to them the whole mess. The most broken thing about Luna is her passive. The main reason why this is the most broken is because this doesn't have a cooldown versus her detection arrow. You might scan 15 to 20 enemies or operators in a single match with her detection arrow, but you will be pinging this 20 to 30 to 40 times in a single match. And this also goes with all of her util. It basically just puts an additional cherry on top of all of her util. On her Voltero, her nades, even shooting people, it just puts the cherry on top. I mean, sometimes you can even tell that, you might throw a Voltero around a corner to get someone off a peak, and you see Saniva. You had no idea until then. You don't have a Hat Claw. You didn't know who you're about to fight. Or sometimes you can see a rocket launcher on the back. You know that's an Alluru. If I'm really, really close, like probably within 15 or 20 meters, I can sometimes tell it's a Viren, or not Viren skin, the Hat Claw skin and the D-Wolf skin. Because a lot of times they don't have backpacks and their figures are really, really small and they're really skinny. That's kind of how you can tell. So you can even somewhat figure out what operators are if you don't know already. But it's just the consistent use of this ability, which technically it's not an ability, it's a passive, but it's because you get so much value out of it time after time after time after time. And a lot of times, if you cook somebody with a grenade and you hit them, you'll actually see where they fall back to. So you can just hit them with another one. It is very, very not underwhelming, but I would say underutilized, and a lot of people think that it's not what it is, but it's extremely strong. By far the most overpowered part of her kit. It kind of ties everything together as an operator. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and give out some utilization tips on specifically, not really her passive, but we're going to go ahead and look at how to use her detection arrow the right way and the wrong way, and then the different ways that you should be using her Voltero and her grenades. Alright, first off, talking about Luna's detection arrow. In open areas, you want to be operating under 2 rules. You do not use this ability until you catch contact. Period. Either you shooting at them shooting at you. The best possible scenario is you drop somebody and then you arrow, because it's 3v2, and now your entire team probably knows where the last 2 guys are. It's a big leg up on the situational combat. But the only time that you don't do this is if you're going on some sort of a flank and your buddies catch contact, but you don't want to go ahead and send out your arrow because it's going to give away your position. You can get a free knock first if you're going on a flank, and then you send it out. So, other than that though, the only other time that you don't use it when you're not catching contact is maybe you finished up a fight and you might get thirded. You might hear some AI shots in the distance coming your way, or maybe people spawn over here. It's at the beginning of the map, so they could come from this side. Basically defending yourself while you're healing and replating and looting. But I will say, when you do scam people coming your way, they will play very passively. A lot of people play very passively when they get caught by Luna arrows because they understand how strong it is. I have seen too many Lunas in my solo games. We are going to third in the squad and they're sending out an arrow just to get information, but now you're also giving information to the enemy team on where you are. So in open areas, you want to get this thing high, and you don't want to shoot it directly over them. Now, I will say with Luna arrows, you get the scan quicker, the faster it goes over them. So if you shoot it at a line, it'll scan them quicker, but the higher you get it, the more it'll scan. You usually want to go with the higher scan most of the time in open areas. In indoor areas, you actually want to be focusing on bouncing it off of walls and scanning and getting the arrow nearby, because then the secondary scan on movement will go ahead and come up. Now, before I head and go into the utilization of the detection arrow, a small thing to take note of is when you're shooting them through glass, or at least windows, you need to break the windows before you do it, because when you go ahead and throw either the detection arrow or the vault arrow through the window, it's not going to come off at the angle that you thought it would. Now, from what I've seen, the physics are different sometimes on either abilities. Now, it seems like the physics on the detection arrow are pretty good in the sense of when you bounce it off a building or something at one angle, it comes off the correct angle. But the vault arrow is not always the case. As you can see, sometimes you can throw it at a weird like 60-degree angle and it comes straight down 90 degrees. So that's just something to take note of, is that these abilities can have different rules of physics when it comes to using these abilities. Alright, finishing up with the detection arrow, I'm going to go ahead and go over the utility of it and the efficiency in which you use it. Now, this is one of my favorite scans on admin side, and I'm scanning containers, but I'm also bouncing it off these small vertical columns on dam, because most of the other edges are very jagged, but I'm also not putting myself in harm's way in order to scan containers. You can go outside and be seen from windows and containers, but I'm doing it from the safety of a building, and I'm also trying to squeeze out every single little bit out of this ability to get the most out of the information for me and my team. Alright, moving on to the Vault Arrow. Before we go ahead and get into the combat tips, a small tip when it comes to AI. For some reason, whenever you either stick an AI or at least hit them on the ground with her Vault Arrow, I don't know why the game is like this, but the AI will turn into aimbots. And if you are in line of sight, they will shoot you automatically. So as soon as you see either your Luna hit somebody or if you hit an AI, lay down or get into cover, as you can see right away. You do not want to be approaching a POI or a fight and you shoot an AI and it automatically locks onto you, it shoots, and it lets the whole map know where you are. Alright, now last non-combat tip when it comes to AI is that we all know Saeed is a son of a bitch. Okay? And the consensus is that you need to use your knife to kill him, which I would say on all operators is a good idea, especially if smokes. But with Luna, there is another option. Now, it's going to cost you some bullets, but if you do it correctly and you do it right, then you're not going to have to worry about your helmet getting cracked or your armor getting cracked. So, I actually have another video of Past Vantage, actually with some teammates that didn't know about this strat, and I explained it to them live in-game. Go ahead and take a look. Yeah. And Saeed's here. Also, Luna is extremely good at killing Saeed.
Yeah.
Extremely good. So basically, you need to hold the right-hand peak where he's going to be at. You need to know where he's going to be at. You basically throw a Volt Arrow at the corner that he's going to be out, and you make sure that you peek and he sees you. Once he sees you, he's going to shoot. The very next thing that he's going to do after he shoots, he's going to pull out his crossbow and throw fire. He's going to be under your Volt Arrow when he does that, and he's going to be stuck in an animation. As soon as you see that crossbow go up through the wall hacks on our Volt Arrow, you just peek and rinse him. It's very, very easy. Like this.
Fucking Rocketeer.
Got them.
Like so. Just like that.
Yeah.
Alright, starting off with Mastering Luna. This is the portion that you really need to pay attention to, and this ties Luna together as an operator, is understanding how to utilize her Volt Arrow and her grenades. And you might say, well, you just said that those are her worst abilities. How is it that this is the part of how you master Luna? Well, it all ties into the passive. That's why these abilities are really important on how to utilize them, and you're going to be utilizing them more because they have lower cooldowns and you have 2 of each one. Now, when it comes to defensive play, your go-to ability in your arsenal is your Volt Arrow. It is not your grenades. Most of the time when you need to do something defensively, you need to do it now, not in 5 seconds. You don't have that 5 seconds to cook the grenade. You need it now. So it doesn't matter if you're holding for a teammate, for healing. It doesn't matter if you're holding for a res. If you're trying to run away and you don't want someone tracking behind you, your Volt Arrow is your go-to ability. Now, I would say with holding angles, the best thing that you can do is you want to try to, if you have a quick second, you want to bounce that arrow off of a wall so that way the arrow lands at the corner of the wall, but a little bit behind it. So that way, if they try to swing it, you're getting intel on them with your passive as they're swinging the corner, rather than when they get to the corner, it's going to hit them, and then you're getting the info then. So you're trying to get it before, not after, kind of. Now, talking about the Voltero and the grenades, close quarters, especially indoors. Indoors, you need to have that Voltero on bounce on 95% of the time on its utilization. Now, you need to be keeping track on if it's on bounce on or bounce off, because defensively, you're going to be wanting to use it on bounce off most of the time. But offensively, your bounce on is your best bet for the utilization of it. Now, the most part for using this ability is you're essentially trying to get somebody off an angle without peeking it. Now, some angles aren't always like this. Some you have to peek, and there's not another way around it. But on the ones that you can actually bounce it off a wall and deny a peek or deny an angle, that is what it's used for. Now, using Luna's nades close range, especially in buildings, your main priority with these grenades is to either get an armor crack to push off of or a knock to push off of. Now, you want to be using them when you know where people are, either by comms by your teammates, audio on your end, so you're hearing someone around a corner, your detection arrow, or your vault arrow. Now, most importantly, people, cook your damn nades. Cook your damn nades. And when you do cook them, do not be cooking them within 5 to 10 meters, unless you calm your teammates that you are cooking nade and they need a cover. Because two things are going to happen if you cook them too close. They're going to hear the pin get pulled, they're either going to run, or they're going to push around a corner. And when they do, your nade's going to be in your hands, and your pants are going to be down. So if you need to, back your ass up to 10, 50 meters, cook the nade, and then throw it. Most of the time, close quarters, you're only throwing this nade when it has like 1 to 3 seconds left on the fuse. It has 5 seconds. So if you need to back up, pull it, and then step forward, and then throw it. Now, this is a skill that you're going to have to develop over time on what angles in certain buildings, on how to use the grenades properly. But the most important thing is to cook them correctly, and ask comms from your teammates if you need cover on the close range when you do pull them. Finishing off with Luna when it comes to the mid-range with her Volteros and her grenades, a quick thing to think about is that more than likely your grenades are your go-to ability due to the lack of lethality that the Volteros have. So your primary use is going to be your grenades. Now obviously you'll be seeing people go behind cover, or teammates will be pinging them at whatever cover they're at. And by far the strongest combo that Luna has is you go ahead and throw a detection arrow right above them. They're going to lay down like everybody does. And now they have to stay put and they can't move because of the secondary movement scan that the detection arrow has. And while all this is going on, a grenade is exploding right above them. Now, similar to Luna's grenades at the close range, this is a skill that you're going to have to learn over time when it comes to the correct fuse time on when you throw the grenades. Now, obviously, if you're out of grenades and you've hit them once or twice, this is when the Volteros come out. And you shoot it at whatever box or rock that they're behind, just right beside it. And now they have two bad choices to make. They're already hurt. They can either run for the hills and get rinsed while you have wall hacks on them, or do they stay put when a secondary Volt arrow is bound to come at their location. This is probably the strongest part of Luna's kit, and which makes her the most lethal operator in the game at the mid-range. And funny enough, it's also the easiest part of Luna to master. But something to keep note of, if this is the strongest part of Luna, you need to go ahead and understand and utilize the correct usage of your abilities at these distances. And with that, that concludes my Luna tutorial, or at least how I feel Luna should be played. It's been very difficult for me with the self-reflection that I've done making this video, trying to put into words on how I use Luna as an operator and her utility. At this point in time, with the amount of time that I have sunk into her, a lot of what I do with her is very instinctual. So it's been very, very troublesome on my end. Hopefully, y'all have learned a thing or two while watching the video. I've tried to make it as in-depth as humanly possible. If you've stuck around this long, I've greatly appreciate it. You have no idea. But go out there, practice Luna, and as always, as I do, in your games, have the advantage.